recorded.
Catch it because it now gets fixed on where we are, so. Okay. The mic is up there, the rest of the board is on the computer, make sure you talk loud so they can hear you. Plug it in right behind the TV there and then. Got about 15 minutes, so we'll get kind of current status update. I know Leif worked with you guys on a couple of these. So thank you to Leif. Sure.
Oh, Doug, who's in the room with you?
John, who you got with you?
Just John O'Brien.
Okay,
me,
John.
We're rest on the others.
We're on the other ones on the agenda.
Yeah.
Is it only one page?
Just one. Sorry. Where's the one?
All right, I'll leave it.
So we have two actions that are in front of the board. One is the subdivision. And the second is the final site plan approval. Jamie, when we spoke, I guess a week or so ago,
Mhm.
there was some question on the subdivision maps, the historical subdivision maps, because our
Right.
map that's currently proposed is labeled Amendment 4.
Mhm.
So I did go back and I found the first three amendments, which I think the first amendment created two small lots at the southeast corner where the intersection with Fly Road. The third created lot number 3, which is now owned by Anarin. And the third amendment added what is the municipal power building that's along the western edge of the property. So this map that's in front of you now was filed in 1998. I could not find, but I'm still trying to find the original subdivision map. These are the three amendments leading up to our fourth amendment, which extinguishes the property lines for the three residential lots in the northeast corner of the property and merges them into what is now a 22.78 acre parcel that's on both the west and east sides of Hammersmith Drive.
Excuse me, John, and I can't really see the date on it, so what's the date on this map? This is the most like quote recent one, right before the current one, correct?
The most recent one is 08. So the most recent.
Is that what I'm looking at now, or no?
This is the
You
98.
couldn't find 2008,
I have 2008 in this.
Okay. because whatever you need, it should be in the town clerk's office. She's got pretty good records.
Okay, I can't
Is the
find it.
2008, was the 2008 filed with the county clerk?
Yes, it was. And I have a map
Okay.
number.
And you've got it.
And what happened in
Got it,
2008? So this is an old, 1998. What was the 2008 map?
2008 map
What
was
happened?
10943. It was filed 11/6/08.
And what does it show that's different from this one that we're looking at?
it created lot number 4. So you'll see in the bottom right corner, there's lots 1 and 2. There was an amendment in 01 that created 3, and there was an amendment in 08 that created 4. And I have copies of all those maps.
Mhm. And in all of these was this drainage easement.
Yeah, so as you'll see on the 1998 filed map, all those drainage easements existed on that map. I would guess that they existed on the original subdivision map that just created one large lot divided
Mhm.
by Hammersmith Drive. But all the drainage easements that exist on the map for the proposed merger exist on this 1998 map.
Okay, so Mark Parrish, this is directed at you, so and I guess Doug as the town engineer, are those drainage easements used by the town for purposes of other
The
property?
ones side of the loop are not. The ones on the west side of the site are.
Can you zoom out?
The,
On
the, the
that
one,
map.
the ones behind lots 1 and 2. I don't know what your definition of being
Thank you.
used are, but that's, those lots drain to the south. So if you go out there, they're jam-packed full of Phragmites. I mean, you've seen it.
Mhm.
So that's where the water flows and that site, I mean, Mark can attest to it, so if anybody else has been out there, it's flatter than a pancake. Right? I mean, Jared's nodding his head.
Yeah. But the drainage easement shown where he's, again, inside the loop that kind of bisects the lot, the middle of the lot, and along the
Mhm.
edges there, that's not used by the town, essentially. It was there to drain the lots and provide a common drainage pattern for that interior loop area. But since it's never developed in the manner that was originally intended, they really aren't needed. The ones on the west side of the road and along the railroad track are required because the upper one in particular, you can see there's some culverts under the road. So those drain the town road and then take it to a stormwater management area that's along the railroad tracks. So
Mhm.
those needs remain in place. The ones inside the loop could be abandoned.
I think that what we're gonna do, John, is go ahead and have the town sign off. I don't know that it needs to be a big, a simple resolution that, and then Ed signs off on it. Because we don't want to create a precedent that those others, like, they can just willy-nilly be sort of disregarded, even though they're on the map. And so for board's precedent, what we're talking about is, should the town board abandon those easements, even though there were never any written easements filed? And I would like to do that, yes, given this conversation.
I mean, we agree with Mark that the ones inside the loop, because the difference in how this property is being developed for our project versus what was proposed in the
Right.
past, really aren't needed.
Yeah,
The one along-
and that's fine. It's just a logistic thing. I won't waste the board's time with that this morning.
Okay,
Yeah, and I agree with that too.
So we
Yeah.
can handle that between you guys on that
Yep.
one. So I think
Yep, thank
this
you.
board would be interested in kind of seeing any updates to site plan, building, where we stand with that right now.
okay.
And I know we spent a couple of minutes talking about that, so it's. Yes.
Jamie, this is Heather Lamadola. I'm so sorry we
Okay.
got stuck in no man's land with the wheel of death, but I don't know if I heard you. Did you receive I copied you on the letter for the lead agency for the town?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. Okay, thank you. I just wanted to confirm that. Thanks, bye.
Is Kevin also on?
Yes, he's here.
Okay,
So this is our current site plan. Final submission, all the documents. There have not really been substantial changes made to the site plan itself. The approach we've taken with parking, and I know we discussed holding some parking in reserve in the future, essentially the north parking lot, and putting 25% banked parking, designing the stormwater system to accommodate that in the future. For reasons that we were a little concerned might be a delay going through the ZBA, we've chosen to put the code required amount of parking shown on this plan to be approved by the planning board. We would like in the future, if the client requests it, to go back and put that parking in reserve. It's really a timing thing and not getting bogged down in the ZBA process if we don't have to. I think what we've heard in the past is that it would be something the planning board would embrace, but for purposes of our site plan approval, we have a compliant number of parking spaces based on the size of the
So
facility.
you're suggesting doing it a little bit in reverse, where you want to go and you want to get full approval for all of the parking, and then you'll effectively be coming back to us and saying, we want to put this in reserve. We've shown you that it works. We've designed everything so it works, but this area is within the 25%, and we want to put that in reserve.
Yeah, and it all works with employee count and shift overlap of that within 25% reduction.
so weighing in on that, I think that that this board needs to kind of make a determination. I know they want to avoid ZBA. At the same token, this board wants to avoid too much impervious surface, and some of our parking requirements are very extensive. And do you want to approve this amount of parking, or do you want to say we're not approving this amount of parking, go to the ZBA? So that's a question for
Well, I
this
guess,
board.
and Jamie, if we're talking about approving this amount of parking or going to the ZBA and putting this amount of parking in reserve, is it
Or a
not-
straight up variance. I mean, either.
well, do you feel as though you will ever need this parking in the future? Because that, to Jamie's point, the other option is going, and that's a much harder kind of, straight up variance. Never have to build the parking. We're approving X amount of spots for this site for the future. So I think there's a couple of avenues in this one. One is you show, as you're saying here, all of the parking, and we've designed it. We're getting approval for all of this parking, and then once there's approval in place, again, at your own risk, you're coming back to the board here for recommendation or reduction of parking via reserve at that point. Or you're taking it, right up front and saying, we're showing this in reserve. We've designed everything, but we're gonna take it to ZBA and go now. So you got 3 avenues you can pick, but to choose your own adventure.
Well, I guess what I'm saying, Nate, is I think the board needs to decide, and I don't have an opinion on it. I'm just telling what your option is. If you're saying we want the parking in reserve, like that's what is a preferred, because then once it's in reserve, they have to come back and ask for it to come out of reserve. And would you prefer that the parking be in reserve than have a built out site? Because once it's approved, they have to build it unless they go back later, or you say upfront, go now.
Yeah, Jamie, I think that's what they're saying, is that once it's now approved, if they're showing this site plan, we're approving this site plan, then they want to come back to us and say, we've shown the full site plan, but we want to put this area in reserve.
Right, but that's their option. The other way, it's your option. Are you following me? Like,
Maybe
you
not.
can't build this amount right now. I don't know how the board feels about it.
This is a question, timeline wise, they could maintain the same timeline because we're allowed to make that decision for 25%, right, Jamie?
Well, right. I mean, the 25%, well, yes, I'm not sure if that passed. It's supposed to be this week. So,
That's what I was asking, because I didn't know
Yeah.
if that was a rule yet. Okay,
Doug, do you know if that passed? I don't,
I don't, but I can find out.
okay.
I know there was some question, I know it pertained only to 2 zones, I think, but whether it extended to all the zones.
No, it's gonna extend to everything. It's a new legislation that extends to everything.
I mean, if that legislation is passed, then that gives our board the authority to put 25% reserve.
And we would really stop.
Right, and that.
Yeah, I think it's supposed to be on the agenda this month, so we'll find out that out.
It may
What?
simply work with your timeline in terms of approvals, because we're still.
And Nate, I know that one of the important things that we're supposed to be meeting about right now is Mark's review of the seeker, so that we can, so I'd like to move to that discussion. There's a lot.
Yeah, so one other thing, and it is related to seeker. So we were in front of the County Planning Commission this last week. So they issued 2 resolutions, one for the subdivision, one for the site plan. They both have the same modification requirements and recommendation comments. We have turned around the documents that the county had requested that we send to DOT and to WEP. One issue that we kind of had with traffic is that the county planning is requesting that we take into account trip generation from what was kind of a surprise 360,000 square foot warehouse expansion at New Process Gear that we didn't understand was in the works. And the upstate pathology traffic generation, we did take into account the upstate pathology trip generation in our report. We didn't take into account this warehouse facility on the New Process Gear property. And the county wanted us to include that. So our report was done back in November with upstate pathology, but without the New Process Gear warehouse addition.
How does that impact your?
Well, we don't really know what it is. I don't know who referred it to county planning, but we don't have any information about that project.
Go over there, I can get it to you.
were
That
you,
just really came in the last month, John.
were you the engineer on the pathology also?
No, our traffic engineer is the pathology traffic engineer. So Gordon Stansberry did the traffic impact study for the upstate pathology and has done it for our proposed project. So,
Oh, they did that back in November?
yeah, I think the pathology report predated ours and ours took into account the pathology's proposed trip generations.
So you need the info on the warehouse in order to kind of.
If we're required to do it, I don't know if the board would be willing to
Where is that signal?
approve it without.
It's right next door. One lot over.
So, okay, so from a seeker standpoint, traffic is one of the things
I
that,
think it's gonna be
you know-
okay either way, John. I think there's capacity on Flat Road.
Our report indicates that. I just don't know.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah,
hi, Gordon.
Hi, this is Gordon. Yeah, I had completed the study for the pathology lab, and even though they hadn't yet submitted to the town, we included that in our study just as, due diligence to include what we knew of. Ultimately, it's my opinion is that if this warehouse has come in after our study was completed, then ultimately they should include our volumes in their study.
Yeah, I understand the last man in thing because I've met that before, but I don't know that their traffic is ever really gonna discharge directly to Fly Road. I I don't know what their site plan is, but there's quite a grade up to Fly Road where that warehouse would be, and most of that new process gear traffic has always gone out to.
Yeah, my recollection of their submission or their concept was that we're looking into building on their property down towards that southern property line, and all their exiting is up through and around and not out on the Fly Road because that grade it doesn't work.
Yeah, their traffic's all controlled. To Lake's point, their traffic is all controlled through Chrysler.
Yeah.
And New Hampshire, right, those two entrances.
Yeah, I don't think you can get out.
And they actually have a queuing pattern where they hold trucks in the back there. But you bring up an interesting point, right? Who's the last person in and who's the one that needs to take that last study? I don't know what our opinion would be on that, Jamie.
Yeah, I mean, that's the threshold question. And because it does have to do with seeker, and we're trying to move it toward seeker. I'm not trying to push, I'm just trying to put the options out there.
Well,
And we can overturn that, ultimately, that decision of county by majority plus one. And the question is, from the town's perspective, what do we want this applicant to do so they can jump through the appropriate hoops and satisfy the seeker? And Mark, I'm going to throw that question to you as well. Mark Parrish.
Right,
You should do the last.
right,
I don't think he's gonna have a problem.
right.
Um,
So,
Wait,
ahead.
Mark Parrish is talking, I think. Go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I understand their viewpoint. I mean, they've included information they know of. It sounds to me like this traffic from this other warehousing development is going to not necessarily exit directly onto Fly Road.
Great.
Let's say they do add it in and it shows the need for mitigation. Whose responsibility is it for the mitigation? I think would really be one of the questions I would like to have answered, right?
How you gonna beat around that? I don't. So that was one thing, the SWIP. So I have sent the SWIP to Anadoc, to the county DOT and to WEP, and also the photometric plan was something DOT wanted. All those documents have been transmitted to WEP and to DOT. The other comment, some of the comments they had, we've addressed. One is there is a bus stop and they want a connection with a sidewalk that isn't on private land. We show in this plan a new bus stop at our entrance, in our connection to Fly Road, in a sidewalk that connects to the entrance to the building. Green infrastructure, we have bioretention swales and things, so I think we've satisfied their comments. The recommendations, really traffic is the one that.
Were they okay with the sidewalk?
They have not seen this plan with a sidewalk, but I think this will satisfy what they want.
Because I know traditionally on county-owned roads, there's been an agreement between the town and the county, where the town agrees to accept the sidewalks and maintain and take the liability for them. So that may come up at some point. Somebody may say the county doesn't want them, but
The only sidewalks on the west side of Fly are down at the convenience store. Intersection. They specifically asked not to have this sidewalk on county right of way. The bus stop itself is about midpoint of the building, right across from Benedict Ave. Because I think it serves
Right.
Burn Dairy. We've spoken with Central about putting an additional stop at our entrance to this facility. There's a lot of roadside drainage, there's a lot going on to put a sidewalk all the way down Fly Road, including our landscaping environment, things aesthetically that we propose to.
is Central open to putting an additional stop?
They're discussing.
Yeah, what's Central's response? Yeah.
I don't have a response yet, so.
if you recall, that same comment came back on the pathology lab. They want a bus stop there too. County planning does.
So the other couple of items that we made minor modifications in the SWIP were just to change the contact to me in the form. We did put the town board in as an interested or involved agency because of the drainage easements that we had discussed if we needed to have town board action. And then there were two items in section 2J, I think, related to, I think, walkability, EV charging stations, which we've added charging stations and we've added bike racks to this plan. So there are now 4 bike racks at the visitor entrance, 4 at the employee entrance, and there are 4 electric vehicle charging stations near the employee entrance. We've also distributed the handicap parking between the employee entrance and the visitor entrance.
Right. Any updates to the building? All right, sorry, is there, that, I think that covered all the SWIP stuff, right?
Yeah.
Any updates to the building? Just because we are 15 minutes past, so I wanna,
Yeah, so what has changed in the building and I think Salem is on. The building itself has the exact skin that we've, if you go to. Yeah, that's it. Nothing has really changed with the footprint of the building. If we go to the exterior elevations. Nothing has changed with the majority of the building facade treatment. It's all Lucabond panels, aluminum composite panels. We did, because of durability issues, the annex portion of the building, which is a smaller footprint than the production side of the building, we moved to precast, architectural precast panels. So they're 12-foot wide panels with reveals to match the heads of the windows. They'll be coated to look white. They're not really visible from the road since the footprint is smaller in the annex portion. That building is really done, is housing storage, shipping and receiving. The mechanical equipment is there. Cooling towers are located inside. And there's storage facilities for their process.
minimal rooftop furniture, right?
Yeah, there's really, what we don't have final information on is just what stacks, exhaust stacks will be there, but no mechanical equipment. Inside the building, there's kind of a ring of what we call a mechanical mezzanine. So all that equipment is above the production floor, fed inside the building. And it kind of rings the entire production floor. It's 20 feet wide in most areas, 16 in others. And all the equipment for serviceability is inside.
How long before you have a sense of what those stacks, the size of those are gonna be, where they're located?
By the time we get to the next meeting.
Right.
One quick comment, guys, can you zoom in on the second elevation down at the juncture between the annex and the where the precast moves into the panel zone? And I'm just gonna pick on the horizontal joint band on the precast. I know you're lining up with the precast, head of the precast windows, but it's also missing then the line that's at the sill line of the windows to the left on the panels there. So I just want to see if, can we look at what's causing that issue between the sill of one window and the head of the other? Is that something we could get resolved?
Yeah, we can look into it. I'm not exactly sure, Leif.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's causing it. Could be a floor headroom type of thing going on there or mezzanine to sill level, but I just want to take not miss that if we can.
Yeah, Leif, this is Salem.
Hey, Salem.
Yeah, we can look at that.
Okay.
You correctly identified it. It just has to do with the floor and sill heights as you identified, so.
Okay, cool.
So the other quick issue we'd like to discuss is signage, and signage related to both the ordinance and then also to the proportionality of the length and square footage of these elevations. We've looked at this and compared what we had shown, and I think if you keep scrolling down. I think it's probably the last sheet. Okay, so I'll
Yeah.
turn this over to Salem. We had looked at what is allowed by code, what was proposed by us, and a couple of intermediate sign sizes that address proportionality, so.
Yeah, but I think we
Thank you,
talked a
John.
little bit about this in here. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Good morning, everyone. You know, the first three elevations on this sheet were the ones that were presented the last time. So it showed what the requirement is, 120 square feet for signs in the high-tech zone. And then it showed the 300 square feet, which is allowable, or I'm sorry, 360, which is a 300% increase, which is allowable not in the high-tech zone, but in the industrial zone. And then it showed our proposal, which was 1,300 square feet. And based on the conversation last time, we reduced it. So the bottom elevation is actually a reduction of 5%. The square footage isn't a 1-to-1 ratio because it's a rectangle that we're reducing. And it ends up being 1185. Having a hard time reading on my screen here, but you know, the entire facade wall area is 16,200. So there is a provision that says it can't be beyond 10%, which is 1,620 square feet. So what we're proposing is actually 7.3% of the wall surface. So that's a 5% reduction. And proportionally, we feel that it sits well with the overall facade composition. So I guess it's really a question mark for you folks as well. So
Yeah, I think we talked a little bit about this before. I think the 120 square feet gets lost in the facade.
Yeah, it just doesn't work.
Right. The large signage based on the size of Fly Road and the proximity to the building feels a little large. But I think the 300 square feet is the same thing. It kind of gets lost as well. I think there might need to be something somewhere in between that 300 square foot one.
Yeah, what I'm looking at is look at the size of the T compared to the size of the top band of the fenestration to the left of it. Yeah, zoom in. Yeah, thanks. Slide over.
Which one do you want to see, Leif?
Yeah, that stay here. So the size of that T at 7'5" there, if you look at just to the left of that horizontal band, the dark band, my question is, what is the height of that band in the fenestration to the left of the T? And compared to the 7'5", is there a way that T becomes the same size as that, then the swoosh jumps above it? So it's sort of, because what caught my eye in the render of Salem was that band kind of pulling straight through the elevation. As
so
being
I think if you scroll down to the proposed 5% reduction.
Oh, yeah, get there.
That band's six feet. So now we're at 6'11". The window height is 6 feet. So
Yep.
The T is 6'11". I can develop one that shows the T is 6 foot so that it lines up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a great place to be.
Yeah.
Okay.
What was the size? What was the size in the rendering you had just shown? Which of the options are shown?
The
6'11". It was the reduced size. So
Yeah, jump back to the renders now, Salem.
No, I'm driving. So.
Oh, you're driving.
I can share my screen if you want, but yeah.
This is from Benedict Road, right?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
So
I think try generate the T to the 6 foot number, like in the window band there, and see how that plays out onto this. Because what caught my eye was the lowercase letters were lining up, and that's sort of what my eye's reacting to.
Right. Yeah, I can put a dement on the lowercase letters as well, so we can see both. And then if we continue on, I did the same sort of analysis with the south elevation, and there we reduced it by 10%. So you can see
At the
Um,
bottom.
Yeah, the very bottom one is a 10% reduction. So it takes it down quite a bit. I don't know if you can zoom in. We
Yeah,
can see
zoom in on
what
that. What's the
that
height
letter
of the T
size
there?
is.
Cause he got a dimension on it.
It was at 5'11" there, right? So that's gonna be close to the one you're proposing
Yep.
for the other side, the east. One more. There you
we
go, 5'10".
5'10", yeah.
So that's a 10% reduction from what we would initially show. You know, we can develop those elevations and resubmit them for review.
Great,
Yeah, I think it's the right way to do. At that point, they're almost the same signs.
yeah,
At that point, I'd make them the same.
yeah. Buy them in bulk.
This would be a variance, or is this?
That's what we we're just talking about. You have.
Yeah, we got, yeah, how does this work with all the different options here?
And if you scroll down again, you'll see the overall surface area and the percentage that sign encompasses it. So that's like 5.5%.
Gee. So there are two streets, side facing each street. I think. Jamie, is there clarity on square footage? Because I think when you're talking about like this elevation here, you can't take this whole elevation to the outside here because your building steps back here, so it's 10% of this facade.
That's what we have, that's how it's been interpreted.
So you'd have to take and make sure that it complies with that, not the whole thing on that side, it's that part of the building.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, the annex portion, because it steps back.
Does not count towards that. And then, so that would fall within that 10% window at that point. So there shouldn't be any issue with those signs, correct? Jamie?
Yes, I mean, I haven't done the calculation myself, but I'm counting on you guys for that.
Right, so if it falls
Yeah.
within that, then, and I think to Leigh's point, making those things 6 feet to kind of tie in with the windows, you know, I think it fits the scale of the building. you
Yeah,
know,
so do I.
That's our view too.
Yeah,
I don't know exactly what the code is, whether the 10% applies to the high-tech zone or not. I know it applies to some zones.
we'll have to look at that,
I'll double check that.
yeah.
Well, the code provision is on the previous page. If you go there and zoom up into it, but the 10% is for high tech area.
Okay.
It's 120 square feet or 10%. It's that 3.1.
Yeah, business and, yeah, business, high-tech, so, yeah, okay.
Does that mean 120 square feet and further restricted to if you have a very small building that it's 10% of the, are they double ads or is it an either or thing the way that's reading?
Well, I think the 120 is the maximum, but you can't go any greater than 10%. So if 120 was 12% of the surface area, then you'd be limited to reducing the 120 to 10%. That's the
Right.
way I interpret it, like.
Yep.
Gotcha. Yeah. Otherwise on this building, you'd have a max of 120 no matter what,
Right.
which is way too small.
So just let's get it down to that 6 foot, let's show that it, show all those calcs that it's at 10%, let us kind of take a look at it.
Yeah, it's just for comparison and analysis, that's all.
Yeah, no, and that's fine, my suggestion would be to remove the other options.
All the other options. Yeah.
Just so that we're looking at what we're looking at, that's in there.
Yep.
But other than that, are there other issues or things that you want to cover right now?
No, the only one I want to bring up is the neg deck, and I know typically it's been a neg deck and then a final approval of the site plan. Because of OSIDA purposes for the project, they're at an April final for all their site approvals, which are obviously need seeker.
Mhm.
So that determination in their April meeting, we would need to have before that April meeting sign up.
Yeah, I think if we can get the trip gen stuff, we can get all the SWIFT stuff taken care of. You're on a track A, which would mean you're the first meeting in March. Right, so submittal.
Which is actually, we've got a 3-weeker because we got an extra day in February. this year.
Yeah,
So,
right, so I think your deadline is not this Thursday, it's next Thursday. Is that
If
correct?
we've got an extra week, yes.
Yes. For all this material to get in, so, you know, cleaning everything up, getting a full final package in. You know, we can.
Mark, excuse me, Mark Parrish, did you have any other issues you wanted to raise with the board about the seeker?
No, I've asked John to do a study on this sewer capacity to make sure there's
Mhm.
adequate sewer capacity, but otherwise, no.
And water.
Water.
Yeah, well, yeah, water, he's already talked with the
Addressed.
water department and
Yep.
gotten a sign off on them, so he's set there. So is this site plan ready, package ready for a detailed engineering review?
Do you think it is? Mark?
I mean, I've looked at the seeker, but is the site plan ready?
I believe so, Mark. I'll confirm with Brian Bouchard that he hasn't made any changes and make sure all the
Okay.
needed.
Well, I'm
Yeah,
asking the
I'm-
board as much as you, John, sorry.
No, that's fine. So you can take the board's opinion too, but my opinion is no, we haven't changed anything after when we've submitted the final grading and drainage plan, the stormwater report and SWIP match all of that. Lighting is in the package. The only things that we've changed is the addition of that small lead sidewalk to the corner and then also noting some EV charging stations and bike racks. So technically speaking, your review can still occur with the SWIP and site plan and drainage package we have here.
So if
All right,
that's
so
the
so
case,
I guess again, I'm asking the board, Nathan, is this, do you want me to go ahead with the detailed review on this?
yes,
Yes, yeah.
I think as long as we've got the final submission, right?
We do, yeah. There was, I think, the 1st of February.
and I will just say that that's, the only other thing that we need to address is whether or not we've been granted that authority to put 25% in reserve, where that stands. So we'll check on that. We'll let you know where, you know, that is with the approval process. And then we can go forward with that. And I think based on what we say is we'll ask for what your plan is, because Mark will have to look at it in that context. So. Okay.
Sorry.
Any other questions or comments from the board?
Nope, I'm good.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you, gentlemen. Thank you for your time.
Yep.
We got you all. We'll have to guide you. It's gonna be a pain, but. Sure. Oh, no.
Chauffeur.
So, all right, so I think for our last work session, the main comment that came out of that work session was basically that we needed to get some drafted plans together of what we were proposing to do to the facade of this building. So as well as a revised site plan, which I can show you as well. So starting architecturally in the elevations, this is kind of an outline of everything that's to be done on the facade. It includes, I figure out how to zooming here, it includes notes about the existing and proposed, features of the facade. So, I don't know how you wanna, if this has been reviewed and comments to start, or how you wanna.
I have not seen this yet, so.
No, we're just asking you to give us the updates.
Right.
Okay.
So that the board can comment.
Yeah, so, our designer has gone through and basically noted, I guess, starting on the south elevation. Comments as we go along here. South elevation really is, primarily staying the same. Fresh coat of paint. This piece here on the south elevation is a new piece of the facade. I say new, it's just a different materials using a horizontal galvanized siding, which I do have physical samples of if that's needed.
So one thing I would like, and maybe it's on here already, but have you point out which signs you're going to be asking
Adding.
ZBA for variance, because last we talked, you guys have way more signage than is allowed.
We already had the signage that was approved that we took down. Was.
Right, but like that drive-in storage.
Right, the drive-in storage and the climate control storage is what would be added.
Right, so making sure that those are clearly. Yeah, I think, you'll have to kind of,
But you're saying the drive-in storage was approved, or it just happens to be there?
that's what they're asking for.
Oh,
That would be
okay.
new, would be my understanding.
Yeah, drive-in storage, and then on the this elevation here,
The east side.
the east elevation would be the climate controlled self-storage signage here on this side. And I guess kind of learning what we just were talking about with the square footage requirements and such, and 10% of the facades, and we can kind of run through that calculation just to see what percentage of the facade is signage.
Well, so there's, be careful about that, because it's not just the percentage, like the one on the south elevation.
Yep.
Doesn't actually face a street, so it's not allowed. So you wouldn't, that's a straight variance that you'd have to get from ZBA, because it doesn't face Genesee, and so the same thing, any of those ones that don't face, not Genesee, Thompson.
How's so the interpretation with the 10% is just the roadside?
Yes.
Is that what-
Yep.
Well, that's in the business high tech.
Right, I think we need
This
to
is
look at
industrial.
yeah, I need to look at the industrial signage. This, Doug, I'm sorry, I'm talking over you, but you agree with me. We need to review that signage requirement. Restrictions in the industrial is a little bit different. So I think that needs to be specifically talked about, but I know that one thing that is generally not been allowed is kind of throwing the sign up higher. You know, how that whole sign seems to be higher than the rest of the building.
That one that he's pointing to?
Like the climate controlled self-storage, it's like a panel and it's higher than the building. That's been generally not,
That's not, the signage is just, the lettering is the signage, the actual backdrop is a structural, framed facade.
oh, it's already there?
Yeah,
Yeah,
and it's the same elevation of the building. That's just the way it looks right there.
Mhm.
That's weird on the rendering.
there's about a 1 foot jump, I think is all.
Again,
Right, so
if
the
you,
parapet extends above, that panelized piece extends 1 foot above the parapet behind it.
Correct, yes.
since we're seeing this for the first time today on the signage, I'd like to kind of hold that discussion in abeyance and we'll look at the code separately and maybe talk about the other things.
Yep.
On the comment of no signage unless it's road facing, how do you handle, more or less customer directional signs, so that a customer driving in knows which door they're supposed to go to, which is kind of what the intention is of drive-in
There
self-storage.
is site-related directional signage, you know, post-mounted and stuff like that.
This was there, this is just a different sign, this square footage was already.
Right, the problem that we're gonna have is once you remove it, it's now been removed and you're starting fresh. At that point, so if it's, I know there probably is some signage there right now. But
On this part, there's not, no,
on that part, there's none.
not right. this
Right, so at this point, that is actually even tucked back behind the building further. And that's not street facing as well, so that,
This one.
Right. right, and those usually post mounted within the drive aisles and. You know, the parking area, right, they're not necessarily building mounted, you know, large signage back there.
I guess in this case it would be though, because there's no real spot for post mounted, because it's all dry area.
All I'm saying is, at this point, that signage is not allowed by code. You can ask for it. It would have to be a recommendation from this board to ZBA, and a variance that you would have to go and get.
Say that's something we need to explore, because otherwise it would be,
Well, yeah,
you'd have nobody know where to
Where to
go, yeah. So that process, on the ZBA approval has to come from you guys first, any
We have
recommendation,
to
correct?
provide a recommendation.
Yeah, so is that something?
I mean, you're welcome to go to ZBA without a recommendation, but,
Well, no, I'm assuming that we wanna have
right.
some.
So what I would say is on all of these elevations, you're probably gonna want some graphic or some, you know, drawing here that says. This is what is allowed, and this is what is above and beyond that we're asking. The board for a recommendation on to ZBA. Now, that doesn't mean that. You're gonna get it as part of the discussion that we'll have around the signage. But a lot of this signage that's back through here. It's not approvable unless we. Send a recommendation to ZBA.
All right, and as far as directional signs, there's a whole separate code that allows for post-mounted signage.
Yeah, there's a section on directional signage. That number is. We can get that to you as well.
Okay.
But again, to Jamie's point, like, this is the first that we're kind of seeing some of this stuff, so we'd like an opportunity to.
Yeah.
To absorb it, to look at it, to give you some feedback on it.
Yeah.
But I
In
think,
here,
I think the reason having on the work session is the sign code into it's very complex.
Mhm.
So you get some input from the board members
right,
Okay.
moving forward
Yep.
to
And
try
I-
to streamline this so we can get you in and out.
Okay, and I'll, and I'll ask our architect to kind of do some preliminary digging and start thinking about what you've just said, showing what's allowed and what's additional, so that we can kind of be ahead of the game.
yep,
So
And
do
I
you
would-
have a local architect or are you using like a architect that?
Looks like it
you-
was Labella.
Yeah, Labella
Oh, okay.
is the one U-Haul has hired to do these drawings.
Okay,
the awning. Over that door, what is that? I can't.
This
is it
here?
existing? Are you changing it? Is it, you're not modifying, okay.
That's an existing structure.
How much of this is actually window versus fake?
That's all window there,
That's all legit,
the north, that's the north.
underneath boxes, hitches, moving supply, that those are actually windows there that.
The whole, everything there is windows.
Yeah, any window that existed is what
Is
we did not add any more windows. Overhead doors were as they were, just replaced.
Yeah, we changed them because they were the old.
Yeah.
Steel roll up doors.
Is there any way that we can have, you've got, maybe it's just a rendering, you'll tell me different. All of the roll-up doors the same, so that there's not
They
some
are-
brown ones, some
These
yellow
are all-
ones.
These are all the same now. Which, the three big ones were the ones that were the black roll up, the old style steel that we replaced and put the new ones in.
So the ones on the upper elevation.
Those are the ones out front.
So I guess what I'm just saying is for continuity around the building, I know, but just for continuity around the building, is there a way?
Pull them out, fill them in.
I mean, if they're not being used, I mean, that's up to you, but what I'm looking for is I'm just looking for continuity around the building. We have a lot of big roll-up doors, and it'd be nice if all of the roll-up doors were treated the same way,
Same color.
you know?
It looks like they were infilled.
They're
On the
not
top.
yet, they're not yet, but we can. Cause they're not used whatsoever, they're just what was there because of the old, it's just an old industrial building, so. They built a wall on the inside of that that kind of closed off that loading dock to the storage. They kept it with the mentality that eventually if they needed future storage, which they never will in this location. For unloading. Unload and load bays, they would have put them there, but
Kind of what you're serving as your, this,
if they needed it, but they won't ever need. So I got 10 bays there.
so the easy
Solution.
solution would be to paint them to match.
Paint them to match the other doors,
Yeah.
the brown.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just think there's something, the way that they're kind of treated around the building. Site wise, you can pull up a site plan.
Yep.
Actually tried to paint those overhead doors so that it would match the actual building now, you know, blend what was there, but.
What is, I mean, does the board have an opinion on those doors? I think I just made a comment, but
We paint them white. So they blend into the brick.
I think anything that can help make this building
Yeah.
less
More
busy,
uniform. Yeah.
yeah, would help.
so with that comment, Doug, you saying blend it to the wall?
Sorry, I seem to have lost
Can you hear me?
the facade. Are you guys still sharing?
Yeah,
Oh, he lost. Probably.
yeah,
Just struggling with screen space here.
you can hit the, that's fine.
Sorry, I'm trying to stay up to speed down here at JFK Terminal while we're doing this.
So those are your two elevations, Doug. You know, the top one's your east elevation.
Got it.
So is your thought, Doug, when you say to reduce the busyness, is to have those overhead doors, the three doors in the top elevation there, match the adjacent wall color?
The white. Yeah.
What is? Well, I think that could work.
Yeah, just paint these three doors to match the white wall.
Yeah,
They
I agree.
are-
I agree with that. As I
Kind of
look at
blend
it.
them because they're not used doors anyway, so there's no point in bringing.
Yeah, that's fine.
What? Sorry, there's a non-functioning fixed door kind of floating in space. Is that true?
Yeah, all three of those on the east elevation.
This door, and this door? Well, that one has.
That's your fire escape.
That has a ramp to it.
That's white.
Right.
Those are all white already.
I forgot this question. Was he just reconfirming that the three?
Yes. Yeah,
The three coil doors,
yeah,
yes.
those three doors paint to match the adjacent white.
Yeah.
So that they disappear.
Yeah.
And then to Doug's question before, those man doors that are there, two of them they're not functioning?
Two are functioning. The white ones.
So do we need to just show, is there a set of stairs at this point?
Yeah, that's a white one. That one doesn't have stairs to it. It's just painted.
Is
And
there,
then there's one on the other. It's white.
Alright, so
this one in the middle are they active?
Yeah.
Okay.
So they would have stairs or some means of
We're gonna
making
have
open
to-
the door. So
Yeah,
they
or
could
see if
still
there's
show.
something there or not.
Obviously, we'll need to, continue to do a full review of this. But to kind of pull a statement out of Doug's comment before, the building is very busy.
On the renderings, it looks like that, but it really isn't when you see it because it's so big. It's a big building.
Yeah, it's
You know,
still,
it's kind of,
so anything we can be doing to kind of just,
I mean, just
It's
where
only
those
down big.
overhead, like those overhead doors, where those 5 overhead doors are, that's over 100 feet right there.
yeah,
Just
but I'm
that
looking at the top elevation, you've got. I think you're adding that band. In the middle, go up with your mouse, the band of all the window with all the
That's
orange,
there.
that's there.
Yeah.
So, but that right now, you've got this building with a ton of just orange boxes. It's like a flashing light almost.
They're behind the windows. They're like a curtain type.
It's the backdrop.
It's a back.
Right.
Basically.
It's consistent with all their
Yeah,
buildings.
With their
Right,
brand.
yeah, I know,
With their
yeah.
branding,
But by doing that, I think what we're trying to do is just make sure that it's not overtly busy, right?
I went through this morning just to kind of look at
That's
some
why-
other,
Right.
other.
No, we know that that's something that you all does, but I think
Well,
we're
no,
trying to,
one of the reasons the first time when we were in 2016, why we didn't do the diamonds then. was because
Right.
the diamonds too busy,
Yes.
so we didn't do the diamonds. That's a big building, but you imagine putting
Right.
8-foot diamonds across that whole thing, it's kind of crazy.
Can we go to the site plan?
I think the other thing we talked about last time too was, I don't think that white finish is gonna stay white for very long. And
And back to Ben White, it looks pretty good. That's Ben White where you are right now too.
Yeah.
All of that.
that's really, it's a comment based on experience. Same thing with all of it's a lot of painting on this building of existing metal finishes, and that's a tough thing to do, is to paint existing pre-finished metals.
It's
and have
actually,
that.
it's actually brick. The existing facade is brick. That's a masonry that's being painted between.
No, I
brick
think
and
I thought there was copings as well, right?
the copings are, there are copings. I mean, this coping here is getting painted just due to the color that's requested there, but, and honestly, the rest of the copings are new, so, or
Everything-
at least it's being touched. If it's on a new facade, it's new. If it's on an existing roof end, it's
Already.
yeah, nothing's been changed there. So there's very little metal that's being painted, if you will. Everything's either new factory finished metal or it's painted masonry.
Okay, thank you.
And that was one of the reasons we matched the yellow to this, we wanted to keep the building as is, they're big on kind of existing, taking a building like this and having the history of it and converting it like this. Why we kept the yellow was because that was the color of the brick, but it was just so stained from being so old, that's why they, painted it the same color as it was, trying to paint it. I said, put lipstick on the paint. It is what it is, so.
The Tiger building.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of discussion that went into this site previously. And not just there, but around that island and kind of that one, and then the parking down along Thompson. In terms of
What they were gonna allow. for
what they were gonna allow was
display
there,
versus
right?
Parking.
And what's not necessarily shown is the display that's on that island.
All the 3 vehicles.
The display space that's shown there, we wanna make sure that we're capturing that, continuing that.
Well, either we show it or we
Or you eliminate it, if you eliminate it,
eliminate it. whatever.
I don't know that you wanna do that.
They're not gonna.
I think it's on the original site plan.
It is.
Right?
I-
Yeah, that it was allowed.
I think that we had a comment the last time saying we'd really like a clear drawing of everything that's existing. And then everything that you wanted to change. And
Just
not
the
have
only
it a lot of in between. And I feel like we still have a lot of, this shows everything. it, like, it doesn't show what you're removing and replacing, and it shows the,
Yeah, there's not a
There's
whole lot.
nothing we're gonna be removing. The only thing we missed was the 3 parking spaces that were approved for the island out front there by the entrance.
Well, and those storage.
The building says that-
Well, we're saying right here, we're saying, sure.
Pickups. Oh, no. I know. I'm really controlling.
I don't know if you guys can hear us, we're experiencing a little technical issue here.
I think the concrete walk up front, is that a display area or is it a concrete walk?
Where?
It's actually, it's a display area that where the island, yeah.
Well, it's
the
not-
island is a display.
It's
They
not
got-
noted that on the plan. I think that's where Jenny's trying to go is.
Yeah, that is one thing that didn't get noted there, but the storage buildings, and bear with us because we're trying to bring the screen back up here. The self-storage buildings that were too close to the side yard, are noted there to be moved, so that we achieve a 17-foot, I think, side yard setback.
I think we're farther than that, but.
Yeah, 17.1 feet. So that's what we're proposing there, and that's really the only thing that was affected, that I think was brought up on the site review, was just the fact that the locations of the 10 by 30 self-storage buildings were too close to the side yard. And the comment now about the display in the front. Other than that, this site plan is not changing.
well, we asked you about putting down what's existing and what you were removing to make compliant with the current plan. And then what your final plan was, like, to make sure that you told us about everything. Because like this last question, please don't talk over me, but like this last question that we just had and you said, oh yeah, we didn't, yeah, of course, that's the way it's going to be. But that was how our last conversation also went quite a bit.
Right, so I think what she was saying is those storage units had parking underneath it. We accounted for that parking, so that's what's existing. If you want to put those storage units there, which I still don't even think are compliant and allowed, you need to show us where you're putting those 3 spots, because we've approved X amount of parking on site, and you can't just cover them up and not have them. So I think there has to be a plan to show what was approved versus what you're asking for.
Right.
Because, I mean, those
We're the compliant with the parking spaces.
That's what I was wondering, if we can show.
We don't need as many as we have.
then that still needs to be shown.
So we're gonna go with how
But
many we need to be compliant and take the rest out.
then it just goes back to whether or not those are actually allowed.
With everything I read, we need to pull them away from the property line and they are acceptable. If that's different, I'm gonna need where that's different in code, so I can give that to the powers to be. Cause I'm pretty low on the totem pole.
Well,
So-
that's for your architect to tell us and prove to us, like you provide us a document that is code compliant and you reference those items.
Right,
Well, we'll
and
just,
so,
we'll just check with the site engineer, I mean, if that's how he interpreted that, then that's.
so I think, and I'm gonna ask, Doug and Jamie to make sure that there's not some provision in there which I'm unaware of that allows for that self-storage on the side yard.
Is it classified, I mean, it's
what-
classified as a structure, right, so I mean, as long as
Temporary.
if we meet.
This temporary,
It's a temporary
there's
structure.
no. It's the south, it's no different than if you were to put a Verde container, it's the same concept.
So right now, you're showing it a 17.1 off the property line. And there's a 10-foot side yard? What's the side yard that you're showing there?
Well, no, the 10 foot is the depth of the container, if that's what you mean,
Right, but what is your side yard,
12 foot.
12 foot?
Yeah.
So you're 5 foot beyond the side yard in here. And so what I think,
Curbing, it's not
Right.
curbing on both sides with landscaping, we separated, because they wanted us to have it separated.
what is the use of these?
Advertising more than anything. Advertising the storage,
So,
and it gives us another value, this is an outside storage versus a climate control, so there's a difference in price.
they're not actually used?
Yeah, there's people that are still renting, them. They're fully.
Okay, so,
So it's
It's-
additional
so-
signage, additional signage.
yeah, I mean, it has signage on it, so,
No,
Like car display.
there's no sign.
They mention of parking compliant, but every parking spot on the front along Thompson Road is used by a U-Haul vehicle with for rent signs in their windows. So, I mean, I'm looking on Google Maps and all that along the whole front is used by your vehicles that you're renting.
When we did it in 2016, what was negotiated with Pete Weber was his 8 parking spaces where those vehicles are that were allowed.
right.
Okay,
And
but
those
on the
don't
drawing,
count.
it doesn't say anything like that, though. It just says 4 spaces.
We did the amended, we didn't think we needed everything like that. so-
Yeah, I mean, I guess we were focusing on just the
Building.
comments that were made with the 2 buildings and that was where our focus was,
Because
because
we
that
already
was,
had the approved site plan,
yeah.
Right, but the approved site plan didn't include
those two.
this structure over here, and the
Right.
impact, and it's one of those, it impacted other things down the line, right, by covering up parking stalls. Right, I mean, I don't even think you guys striped underneath them, but our plan shows parking in that location, so that parking needs to be accounted for. If you wanna take out 30, 60, you're what, taking out 8 spaces? 9 spaces? Right, in that space, where are those 8 or 9 spaces going?
We don't need to have them is the point.
Then show that, you know, so
That's
that
what I'm
we
saying.
can understand
We've got
that.
so many along that north property line there that we don't.
So simply a note that indicates parking spaces being
Right,
removed.
compliance,
So just a table,
yeah,
does he have? That shows that. you're in
75
compliance.
parking spaces.
compliant
Rid of
would be
80.
75 and we have 90.
Reference back to 2016, what was approved in there, what you have. And make sure that everything is, you know, in line with that one. I still wanna kind of look more at the use and the applicability of those storage units on site. I mean, I appreciate that you're showing them move down in a way. I'm still unsure whether or not it's actually an allowed use in this zone over there, but
Yeah, absolutely.
we'll look at that and we'll let you know on that one.
Yeah.
I appreciate the updates on this one, so between,
And the new survey is on. it.
okay, yep. So we'll look at building elevations, we'll look at the site, we'll get you a list of comments. And then we'll have a follow-up conversation from there.
And then on the 10% for the road frontage,
That'll be part of what we're gonna look at.
Okay.
And part of it's gonna be, we'll tell you that, you know, you're not allowed any signage on the north side and south side of the building, because they don't face Thompson.
and then we'd have.
And you'd have to go to ZBA for that one. You know, and that you're gonna have to show to the board the reason you get a positive, I mean, you can get a negative recommendation, take it to ZBA as well, or positive, like. You're gonna have to get a recommendation from us to go to ZBA.
That's one thing. I mean, as far as the facade renovation, it had to come down, but I mean, if it's safe and put back up, is that? It was the same sign you put back up, is it?
I would have to talk to Jamie about the nuance of that one, but
Of which one?
Existing signage that was on the facade of the building that was taken down to do the painting, I mean, the act of taking it down off the wall to do painting. And then to put it back, I don't know, just seems.
All right, so I think, again, and I don't want to be redundant, but we need to pull up what was actually approved, what may have gotten up there without being approved, and you know, if there are any variances. So we have to do a deep dive on the research on that and what's allowed and if there's anything that has been approved.
I
Then we
I think going from memory, everything except for the accessory structure on the north. When we pulled up the drawings, everything was pretty much. In compliance, including the parking out front and the areas that aren't noted on here where there were storage vehicles, much to my surprise. Everything that was out there that I would have shivered about wasn't approved use. I think the request for the painting and the new signs, and then, just an interpretation of those accessory structures on the north were the main things that we need to look at.
Yep, so we'll meet about that and review the code and review what's there.
Yep.
Okay, thanks, Doug.
Had the building elevations been reviewed also? Because I don't think those red panels on the south side of the building were approved originally.
Yes, we'll have to look at the whole.
Yeah, we'll have to look
thing.
at
Now
it.
that
Yeah,
we
I don't
have-
think they were marked, yeah.
Now that
I
we
thought
have
those
this
were
sort of
proposed
new
now.
plan,
Those are proposed, yeah. Yeah,
All right. So we'll do our review of what you provide us, we'll get you comments,
Okay,
and then we'll go from there.
so next meeting, we're not on this Thursdays.
No, you're not on this Thursday's agenda.
So, we'll have.
And I think you're on a track B,
Yes.
so that would be the second meeting in March, which would mean possibly, and it would be the Tuesday before that meeting. So we would ask that you get, we'll get you comments, you get your materials updated, we'll. Well, the site plan, the building elevations, we'll have all of that, comments to you. That deadline is 2 weeks before that board meeting. Offhand. But that would be your deadline for submission. We'll get you on the work session for that Tuesday before the B-Track meeting. Right?
Okay. So your meeting's the 14th?
No. I get the date for you. It would be the 21st of March.
So we're gonna have it.
7th. And then we'll look to put you on the 19th for a work session. Right?
Thank you.
Something with the screen, but the screen seems to be dead.
You want these?
No, hold on. I would suggest scanning those. Scan them and then provide them as part of the submission.
Okay.
Keep to the locations where they are so that members can see them.
Don't know what to do with the screen being dead.
Wish I could help you on this. I mean, is there a charge site?
Yeah.
All right, we lose you guys.
We're still here. We just have a very white screen.
Yeah, I can still hear you.
we're okay, we're
Monitor
good.
here went completely dead.
I can hear
Okay.
them.
All right, well, we can hear you, so I think we just wanted to circle back on the clearing thing, right? And what's our
We've
plan?
got Waylock here, right?
Oh,
Yes.
geez, okay. I didn't,
Um,
I guess I didn't realize we had 3.
I don't believe we did either.
but he's here and let's hear what he has to say.
Yeah, we got added late out of that.
Right.
Pulled off the regular agenda. And actually, it's excellent that we're here because I can kind of get our ducks in a row. Good morning, my name is Brett Steenberg, hopefully you can hear me.
I was sure.
Can you say your name again?
Brett Steenberg,
Thank you.
I'm the engineer for the applicant, Tasty Hut, who is a franchisee of Pizza Hut.
This meeting is being recorded.
Restaurants. They're proposing to redevelop 6570 Waylock Drive, the former Jimmy John's sub shop. The issues I see moving forward, and not having this in front of me, I'm gonna go by memory.
He's got it over here if you want to.
Oh,
Do you want to sit? I'll just share my
Yeah,
thing here.
Let me just get, can the board see my screen?
No, we got a big X.
No,
We're still on the last sharing still, Nate.
Yeah, it's locked up.
Give me 1 second, see if I can.
Cancel your share for that.
Is that tying into the USB? Because I also have architectural publications and stuff.
It's not.
I can bring out one kid.
Yeah, sure. Give me 1 second, let me see if I can.
Technology is great when it works.
Can't imagine what that.
It's like the HDMI between the computer and the screen of
No, the screen,
the screen.
or the computer, I think is what has cropped the bed back there. I have no way of.
That's what
with the computer.
That's why I was wondering if the HDMI cable between.
Possibly. I wonder if it's.
Do you want me to do a hard reboot on it?
Doesn't hurt, I guess.
Yeah, and so to all board members, we're gonna try and reboot.
Did I lose everybody?
no, I'm
No,
still here.
I'm here. I
Now,
think-
they
I see.
dropped off, are trying to connect again.
Well, they're not on,
Yeah, can you guys hear me now?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, so the computer died up there, so I'm gonna share my screen, which will have all the material in there. Do you want to see here?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. Yeah, probably the site plan first. We'll talk about that.
Okay.
Okay. We're good?
Yep, go
Okay.
for it.
Good morning. My name is Brett Steenberg. Here for Tasty Hut Restaurants, who is a Pizza Hut franchisee. They're looking to purchase and redevelop 6570 Waylock Drive, which it was formerly a Jimmy John's, and I think before that, possibly a Starbucks restaurant. Has an existing drive-through. It's about 1,700 square feet in size. Unfortunately, that's not quite large enough to develop the Pizza Hut restaurant, and they need to construct an additional 450 square foot addition on the back, which is actually in the location of the existing transformer, which would need to be relocated across the drive-through, which we would have to work with National Grid to assure that they're okay with that new location. But in doing this, we would exceed the existing 50-foot setback down to a setback of 36.5 0.2 feet from the existing property line. This is in the industrial zone, so the front yard setbacks have a 50-foot front yard setback, which encompasses 3 sides of the parcel, because there's basically it's on a not just a corner lot. The road kind of runs back alongside it on the other side. So we're aware that if this project were to move forward, we would need that variance for that setback. Also looking at the parking code, excuse me, 60 spaces, or I'm sorry, 1 space per 60 square feet, which is exactly what they had with a 1,700 square foot restaurant. So we would likely need a variance for approximately 7 additional spaces for that 450 square foot addition. And the purpose of that addition is really coolers, storage, prep area, and I'll bring up the architectural floor plan, the conceptual architectural floor plan next. But the restaurant is proposed to have 20 seats interior to it, with the plus any additional for people waiting for pickup or waiting to get a seat. If you want to bring up the architectural floor plan, we can. So you can see the dining area is actually relatively small. They have a salad bar as you walk in, then 20 seats, and then a small bench for a waiting area. They don't anticipate on a lot of people waiting for pizza pickup inside the restaurant, because they will have the exterior drive-through, which is already on the site, which is one of the advantages of this for them. But off to the left on the screen, you can see the addition, which is again all accessory to the kitchen, coolers. To be honest with you, I'm not the architect, so I'm not exactly sure what all that equipment is in there. But really, it's all accessory to the restaurant itself. Looking at 20 seats, just talking about parking a little bit, with 28 existing parking spaces on the site, we all feel comfortable that that's more than acceptable. Figure 8 to 10 employees at any given time in the max shift, so you've almost got 1 parking space per sit-down seat in the restaurant. I know we're going to have to dive in, especially after talking with the last 2 applicants about signage. But if we go down to the next page, there's a architectural elevation. Obviously, the building will get some updates and facades to represent the Pizza Hut branding. The elevation, which is almost the front elevation, which actually fronts on the parking lot, doesn't front on a road. So assuming and listening to what was stated before with the U-Haul application, I think we're going to need to get some variances on signage for those 2 signs which front on the parking lot. The side that we're actually requiring the variance on, which would be at the top right corner of the screen, doesn't have any signage on it. The other one to the left of that faces the other side of the road, also has an entrance, and then you've got your drive-through sign, which faces a road. We'll need to take a look, and I'll have the architect take a look at the signage requirements, and we'll have to come together with what's required. But really, at this point, what we're trying to do is get started with what information we have to get before the board, get before the town, to see if the variance, particularly for the front yard setback, is even viable. Because if it's not, they're not going to be able to move into this space and continue to move forward with the rest of the application. But I'm here to hear what you have to say and your thoughts on this potential project.
So this is, I'll tell you right now, something that this board has not seen yet. I guess this came in
late
Friday or something.
Friday, yeah.
Yeah. So this is great. I don't know that we can make a whole lot of comment right now without any preparation.
I totally understand. I didn't even expect to be on this week, and I was surprised. The application fee checks got to me late, and I overnighted them up here as quickly as possible. But wanted to get you know, and again, having a meeting and being able to explain it to everyone
Yeah.
is invaluable.
So I think, and appreciate the oversight. They'd be on a track A at this point. So we'll put you on track A.
Which is the 14th.
No, it would be
14th of March. Is it possible to push it to track B?
Yeah, did I give him the wrong date before? Did I say the 21st before? It'd be the 28th.
28th, yeah.
For track B. So we just got to make sure that. But anyway, yes, you would be the 14th. So the 29th would be your submission deadline for this one.
Can I request a track B for the 28th? And the only reason I'm out of town and I would like to actually be present at the meeting.
I think that's fine. So from this point forward, you'll be on track B.
Okay.
So we'll have an opportunity in our office to kind of look at this.
Okay.
Get you any preliminary comments. Then we can do, your track will basically consist of concept, presentation, and preliminary and final.
Okay.
So during the concept, we'll give you any feedback.
Yep.
We'll do a quick presentation to the board. We'll give you any feedback at that point, come back for preliminary if we have anything else to address at that point, and then we'll do final after that.
Okay. With regard to the variances, would those recommendations to the ZBA be made during the concept review? Preliminary.
We'll hear you out on the concept.
Okay.
We'll make any recommendations during our preliminary, which will get you to the ZBA. If we can get anything back from the ZBA prior to the final, we need it back from them before we do any final recommendation or final resolution.
Okay.
So that's kind of where we would fall in that stuff. So, yeah, give us an opportunity to kind of look at this.
Okay.
I don't think we anticipated, and no offense to you, seeing you this morning. So this is
I
the first we're seeing of it. And
it cut me off a little off guard and surprised, and it was a quick 2-hour drive up here from Albany. So
Now who's the owner?
the owner is Tasty Hut. They're
Little background on that.
yeah, I
They must
can
have a bunch of these.
actually I don't. This is my first one with Tasty Hut. I do a lot of Popeyes restaurants. And I got referred to them from Popeye's architect to help out with this. So I haven't done a lot of these, but I can get you some background information on them. This is actually through the architect Base Brand Studios, and they're out of Georgia. So I know Tasty Hut they're out of I think the southeastern United States. So they have several different franchises, Pizza Hut being one of them.
Okay.
So, but this is, I appreciate, meeting and having the, the forum to at least be able to go over this.
yeah, no, I think
That's-
it's good to have the understanding the history and what you're intending on doing.
I think that's part of what we wanted to do, was just get the personal relationship going.
Yeah.
Yeah,
See
no,
what's going
sounds
on, and you can see
excellent.
some of
It's-
the, you saw some of the
Yep.
questions and interaction, so that's invaluable.
It really is, getting into the, signage and all that, and, had something, we really had thought about, only because we're trying to flush out if the variance is even viable. So
Right.
at this point, and if that's not viable, obviously they're going to need to take a step back and figure out what they want to do. So
But right now, I think the building's vacant.
Yeah.
it's a nice building. It's a good location. I think, a Pizza Hut next to all those hotels and transient
It will
occupancy
actually have a
will-
drive-through function.
It'll actually have
So
a
you'll have
drive-through function.
How do you order a pizza and get it by the time you get to the window?
It's usually a call ahead and pick up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Kind of like a Chipotle.
Like that's
Yeah.
the fastest pizza I've ever.
Yeah, no,
And
Rapid
when
bake.
you come back for the next review, one of the questions I think I'm going to have is that transformer pad and the transformer seems really oversized for such a large building, and I'd like to be better informed about how that came to be.
the transformer itself is actually very small. If you look at it, the pad is that what we're showing is the outline of the curbing that they require. I anticipate it'll be approximately the same size. I think the reason it's the size it is because of the proximity to the roadways and what National Grid requires for clearances from that. But that would be
Okay, so just make that a point of being prepared to talk about that next time.
absolutely.
Yes, Google Earth shows about a third the size of the
Yeah.
mark out.
Okay, and I think that's the actual physical transformer itself. I think what's showing there is.
Yeah,
is
I'm looking on the 3D Google stuff right now at it right now, just to kind of get a sense of it.
Yeah, and I'm gonna go over and take a look at it after this meeting as well.
Yeah, great.
So then we'll have a little bit better.
Yeah, throw a tape measure on it and just so it graphically gets about right.
Okay, sounds good.
Great. Any other questions from the board?
I
Otherwise-
want to see this building get used.
Yeah.
It's a great little building.
That's great to hear.
Great
So,
location.
sounds
Okay.
good. All right, well, thank you very much. I appreciate your time this morning and look forward to talking to you in a couple of weeks.
Appreciate it.
Okay,
Great,
thank
thanks.
you very much.
Great.
Thank you. Nice to meet you.
Yes.
And Nathan, I know that you wanted to wrap up on
Yes.
the pathology building. I've got to run here in a minute, but I'm just gonna relay my final comments. I'm definitely on board with the project, and I don't want it to be misunderstood that I'm being obstructionist on this. And I think that you captured my